Go for it, Jonathan.
Yep. So this might be a little bit controversial, but if you put all your effort into getting better and deeper at the skills that belong to and part of your role, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. Tonight I'm going to talk about applying 3 principles to learning outside of your role to become better at what you do. Now myself, the early years of my career are pretty linear. Started as a photo retoucher, then digital illustrator, finished artist, learning design along the way and putting a lot of hours just going deep, deep, deep on those skills. But what actually happened, and this surprised me, was getting to spend 3 months doing no design whatsoever and stepping out of my role and working in client service. I actually learned a lot of skills that I could bring back. Now I went into it expecting to learn about, soliciting briefs, managing budgets, working with suppliers. And what I didn't anticipate was that what I'd actually learned about was the business value of design, which surprised me in that when I went back to design, it completely changed my approach. Now, I didn't plan this at all. I wish I had. It would have been great. But with hindsight, the value of this is blindingly obvious. And I'm reminded of a question that comes up a lot, which is, should designers learn to code? And one counter-argument which drives me nuts is, oh no, they shouldn't. You'll never be as good as somebody who's doing this day in, day out as an engineer. And it's crap. It's a terrible disincentive that says, no, don't learn this skill. It doesn't matter how useful it is to prototyping or to contributing to little bits of styling improvements with your team. Now, I was never going to be a great account manager for, working with clients, but I was able to take a little bit of those skills and bring them over to what I did as a designer. So at UX London a few years back, Bill Buxton gave us a great talk where he talked about the myth of ideas coming out of nowhere. And it's a myth. I mean, it happens every once in a while, but it's not reproducible. And we depend on reproducible things. We've got to do this every day in our jobs. So fortunately, there are some pretty well understood models for how ideas come about. So for example, everything that we learn and experience and do become the dots that we connect together to lead to creativity and insight and empathy. The more dots we have, the more valuable they are. And this pattern extends way beyond design or tech, and there's a great series called Everything is a Remix, and it breaks down how music and products and movies all get built together from different components, harvested from different sources and recombined. So broaden your horizons, learn from other fields, learn about pattern languages in architecture and urban design or in game design, bring that over into what we do as system designers for user interface. And learn from the history of design, art, technology. Every so-called new technology actually has a 20-year history and then some that leads to it. The iPhone's multi-touch interface, for example, can be traced all the way back to musical instruments with multi-touch interfaces from the 60s and 70s. If you want to learn about motion design, go read about the 12 principles of animation formulated in the 1930s by Disney. And read the writings of analysts, architects, and anything else from whatever field you think would be useful to your own work. Now, as you'd expect, if you have a team with diverse inputs, that leads to more creativity. But you need to be able to collaborate successfully together to be able to leverage that. One guy I work with credits playing music in really shitty bands as teaching him about creative collaboration. There's another guy I work with who, while in college, set up a juggling team. And he credits this with teaching him about collaboration. But a few months after it started, fizzled out, interest in the members just drifted away. It was a total failure. But the next year, he came back and he did it again. And this time, he made sure that there was a schedule of events that drove interest. He made sure to pair people up so that they could cross-pollinate ideas and learn how they each solved their problems. And from that community, he learned how to manage and grow and develop teams. And that's a big part of why today he's a manager of a team. Yes, he is an incredibly gifted and capable software engineer, but it's all down to the soft skill of collaboration that enables a team to grow. So by applying these 3 principles, you can develop a lot in your own time, but that time's limited. So you really need the opportunity to do it and work as well. And great companies make sure they hire people, who've got different, diverse backgrounds and interests, and then they set up the environment to support them developing these ways in work time. So an example of this from Intercom is we make sure that everyone knows that they can contribute their skills outside of their team. We've got customer success engineers who've built internal tools for customer analysis. We've got a growth engineer who actually started out as a business analyst. And no matter the makeup of your team or your company, you can apply these principles and enable the people within your company to grow in these ways. If you're curious about any of the things, the books, videos, etc., that I've mentioned tonight, I'm going to tweet a few at the end of the night. Thank you very much.